So now we come to a very interesting roundtable powered by GoKwik. Is cash on delivery still pivotal for Indian e-commerce today? So this would be moderated by Ms. Anisha Shenoy, Associate Director, Product Marketing, GoKwik, and Abhinav Midha, VP, Vice President, GoKwik. Let's have a huge round of applause for our moderators. Now, esteemed speakers for this roundtable are Mr. Amit Phutane, Business Head, D2C and Growth, Duroflex Private Limited. Big round of applause. Ms. Binal Shah, CMO, Macmerise. Big round of applause. Then we have Mr. Chandan Savera, Founder, Urban Tribe. Huge round of applause. The applause should go on for all the speakers. Yeah. Then we have Ms. Jayanti Sati, AVP Product and E-Commerce, Kaya Limited. Huge round of applause. So, last three speakers for this roundtable. Mr. Manraj Singh, Head E-Commerce, Tyaani Jewellery by Karan Johar. Raghav Somani, Founder and CEO, Headphone Zone. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Samin Ijaz, Co-Founder and COO, Koskii. So let the most interesting roundtable begin. Over to you, Anisha ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks a lot for being with us here today. I see that we have a stellar, lineup of speakers and brands here. So thanks for being among us. Quickly getting into, the topic. I'm sure when you look at the topic saying, is COD pivotal today? I think it makes sense for most of us because we live in a time today where our lives are ruled by online shopping, right? More or less. So, and offering COD as a payment option is the easiest and the first safety net that you can provide, as a new brand, also as a scaling brand for your customers and for your business to, scale. But of course, COD comes with its own set of challenges and apprehensions, right, for you as founders and marketing folks and e-commerce heads. So, so let me quickly sort of break it open for discussion. Let me split it into two parts, right? So I think one thing that all of us have seen over time is that COD is not really our enemy, right? The associated RTO, right? And fraud and risks that users misuse COD, that is what we need to tackle and we need to sort of fix. So one is how do you today do that? If you open COD up, how do you tackle that problem today? If not, what are some of the other measures that maybe you take? First of all, it'll be interesting for us to get a snapshot view into the percentage split of your COD versus the other payment methods that you're probably offering, and how do users sort of behave with respect to the different payment methods. So, Abhinav, would you maybe want to add to this so we could just...
No, I think let's make it open for the forum and maybe start with Chandan here.
Yeah, I think.
And let's hear about what are the kind of challenges you face today when it comes to having COD as an option on your platform.
Been,
Okay. My name is Chandan and I am the founder for Urban Tribe. So travel related product which is backpack, travel accessories and luggage that we sell from our website and all the channels. We are channel agnostic in that manner. But we started off as only digital player per se. So we have obviously presence on all the Amazons of the world and our website itself. So what are the challenges that we face in terms of our selling from our own website is obviously bringing the customer, And second, once you bring the customer, how do you profitably sell to them? And the biggest challenge is COD, actually you rightly said. So COD, not from the COD as you rightly said, it's not an enemy, but the primarily because the COD, the percentage of RTO in COD was almost as high as 70% at one point. So our ratio to start off with was 20% prepaid to 80% COD, which eventually obviously you can't sustain on that level. A good point with our product, which is luggage and backpacks and all, is the size is not an issue. So that helped us in terms of RTO percentages. But the problem was that obviously most of the sales that we were bringing in initially was through Instagrams of the world and all. And it's an impulse purchase. So people has the liberty to kind of cancel it at one point in time. What we did, obviously, from 20% of prepaid, we have now gone up to 50%. 50-50 is almost the ratio. Like actually, 55% is the prepaid now. So that has been the level. So obviously, there are a lot of things that has done, but primary thing that we have done is the human intervention there. Apart from some of the technologies that have been used over there in terms of WhatsApp messaging, prompting the people to kind of go for extra discount and stuff like that, or confirm the orders. But human intervention has been the biggest. Yeah. So every COD order is kind of confirmed with the customer. So obviously, in that process, what happens is some of the orders do get followed, even though at the end of it, probably that person might have taken the bag had not prompted him to kind of confirm, but we've still taken that risk and gone ahead because we felt that sending across, bringing it back, and losses in between has been. So I will not kind of drag this a little further. I think
Sure.
I probably will come back.
Yeah,
to
thanks.
the
I
other
think
points
we'll
as
just
well.
do one round understanding everyone's company.
Quick question. What is your order average
Se-
order value?
1700 to 1800. 1800. Yeah.
Got it.
Hi everyone, this is Binal. I am the CMO for Macmerise. We are a pop culture brand and some of our best-selling product categories include apparels, consumer electronics, general merchandise. With us, COD pre-COVID was a split between say 60% COD and 40% prepaid, which now has improved to almost 30% of COD and 70% prepaid. What of course, adding to his points, human intervention, which kind of helped. I think the evolution of the consumer also has something to do with it in terms of they really trusting the brand. And so what we've seen is for new purchase, for your first time purchase, people would still probably opt for COD. But if you'll see as a CLM exercise for the second or the third order, most often than not, once they've evaluated the brand, they've evaluated the product, they opt for prepaid, which is kind of worked in our favor. Also, I think COD, as how important it is still going to be relevant because as a young brand, if you're looking for market penetration, if you're looking at exploring tier 2, tier 3 cities, that is something which is going to, formulate a trust in the brand that, I have the option to pay via COD as well. So, as a mode of payment, it is always going to stay. Of course, it's on you and also on your supply chain. What we've realized is the quickly we could kind of process the order, the lesser returns we were getting. So we kind of tightened our supply chain also. We are a print on demand company, so we kind of churn out products within 24 hours of receiving the product. So that has the waiting time as it gets reduced. The chances of them canceling the order also further reduces. So that's
I'm
my
sorry,
two.
do you also do customized, personalized merchandise?
Yes, we do.
Because
Yeah.
in this case, how do you tackle COD? Because
We don't offer COD
Thought,
on
yeah.
personalization.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thought
that's
as
a
much,
big
thought as much, yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's some of the few things that I would want to add.
Thanks. Hello, hi everyone. So this is Jayanti, and I had the e-commerce and the product business with Kaya. It's been 2 years that I'm with Kaya, but COD I've been seeing since the beginning of e-commerce. We go back in 2007-8 when we were exploring all kind of payment models, and you would have not heard, but I've also worked on cash before delivery. So that time cash was
The
that
cash before delivery.
yeah, so it was that important. Cash transaction was very very important part of any. Yeah. So, but from there, in that entire industry has evolved a lot. But if you see today, and I come from a reputed brand where the credibility is not an issue. Still, if you see the split, and I'm really surprised that our orders are still over 40% on COD. However, my returns are minimal. It's not even 10%. Yeah, and the ATV for a beauty kind of category where the entire industry, whether it's Amazon, Nykaa, anybody else, stands at 300, 450 at the max. We operate at more than 1500 of ATV. And despite that, our RTOs are less than 10%. But still, if we don't offer COD to consumer, then somewhere that's a miss. Today's time, everybody is opting to digital payments. But COD is an integrated part, and I feel you cannot remove COD for now. So I think we'll evolve as the discussion go around. But yeah.
Sure. So, Janti, what's your secret sauce in terms of doing almost 60% COD and having
Low return.
Low returns.
Yeah.
So I think, say, there are two things. One, credibility plays very, very important role, as Binal has very
she
truly
mentioned.
said. That when you acquire customer, there's always a doubt in your mind, and we all have faced. I mean, as like at 3-4 months back, I ordered something and I did a prepayment. And after that, I could not find that organization anywhere else. I ordered it from Instagram, and similarly, I reached to the website and paid, and some nice fashion item. After that, you could actually not reach out to them. So when you have a credible brand, people are willing to, bet on you, and the returns are lower because you don't doubt on the quality, you don't doubt on the brand, and post uses also there are no, bad experiences with the product. So that also leads with low return. One additional things what we've done is in last 1 year we've started omni-channel business.
Okay.
So when you do omni-channel, you book from your D2C and you supply from your clinics. So the days to door actually gets reduced. So if you're practically able to deliver within 24 hours or say 2 to 3 days, your return will always go, reduced. So that I think is one biggest, reason why the RTOs are in control.
Sorry.
Also, maybe are you taking any measures to nudge those 60% COD folks to prepaid?
So see, it's always you have to. It's a kind of
because you say
trade-off.
you say these are high intent customers, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah, so if we keep evaluating, saying that okay, let's give a price guardrail. So you say 1,000 and above only, it's only on a prepayment.
Correct.
But the moment you do that, your order values would go down for sure. Yeah, because the moment you say COD is available, 15-20% jump would come in sales.
Correct. So sorry, I didn't see your name tag.
Yeah, so my name is Amit Phutane. I head the business D2C and growth for Duroflex.
Duroflex, yeah.
It includes all the marketplaces, brand.com, company-owned stores and franchisee as well, and modern retail too. Coming to the COD in marketplace, our 38% business still comes from COD. I'm just speaking of the marketplace. Brand.com, our own website, is around 10%. Offline is no more COD. We have custom size because we deal into the mattress, furniture kind of a thing. We have tackled it in a two ways. When you see 38%, actually initially we restricted pin codes. Certain pin codes we said no COD because we found certain patterns in those pin codes. Out of 19,800 pin codes, you can find out a pattern with marketplaces. That was the one thing. And the second thing is that this industry also evolved, and we actually did a 100 days trial. We said, okay, let's open it. People want to have a trial. We said, okay, we'll give you 100 days trial. If you don't like the product, straight return, cash will be given to you. Still, it's on 30 days marketplace run as a trial thing. Because in our thing, customer comes after 7 years. So every time we acquire a new customer. Okay, so everyone comes with a skeptical mind, will this product is suitable for me? Because every person is a different physically, and he wants to have a mattress which suits to his body. So RTO still we have in a single digit. As Chandan also mentioned, our all .com CODs are pre-confirmed. We call them. Largely we ask them if you are in the home, only then we'll deliver, because it's a very heavy and bulky item. If they are not home, we oftenly tell them that we will charge you 2,500 rupees if you're not going to be at home. Because it's a heavy and bulky item, and we will note your number that next time you order. And it still step by step we reduced it. And I think India as a by and large will remain a substantial COD as a business. I think the only you more and more start knowing your customer, then you can handle them in a much better manner.
right. So you said you do pin code blocking, right? Selective pin code blocking. So is this solely based on past, say, when the products have not been able to be delivered to those addresses? Has that only been your criteria, or?
Yeah, two ways to do is one, if you have a great relationship with your category team in marketplaces, you get a good fundamental data from them that what kind of pin codes they have. Actually data for billions of rupees and dollars of data. They will tell you exactly which pin codes actually.
Do you also look at like fraudulent?
And then secondly your own data. So where heavy and bulky items goes, for example in FMCG I'll look for something where fridge, washing machine, luggage,
Got it.
or our kind of products are delivered, and we know those pin codes are abused. you avoid them initially.
Correct.
Do not get into those kind of pin codes. And if you're doing directly yourself, then definitely ensure that uh, everything is verified before the customers. You ask for the number, you ask for everything, you are sending it. And some try to get the data from them and then only ship it.
Correct.
Until unless you don't do this, you will have a challenge. For example, if you are shipping from a location of Mumbai, Bhiwandi, and you're all the way shipping up to a very corner location, say up to Sangli, Kolhapur, which is towards this, and he's going to cover 800 kilometers and going to deliver, and you come to know that person is not that he's going to come 800 kilometers back.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right, because we have about 1,500 brands in our network, and we have this capability inbuilt, ML capability, where we actually assess the goodness of an address, before even the user is placing the order. We get like a snapshot of like a risk flag
Risk flag.
associated with the address. So, based on the character length of the address, or, we can also identify if it's gibberish address. And, we can sort of take a stab at that and then, ensure that the returns, like you
returns are
mentioned, going back 800 kilometers, all of that is something that we tackle proactively even before the order is being placed. So that was a good point that you mentioned where you said that
No, as Jayanti mentioned, we have tried COD way back. I'll give you an example way back up to when the infotainment started on television. That time the COD was the king.
Yeah.
Every 70-80% orders used to
honestly,
be on COD.
even now it is.
And
I mean,
if you look at that, if you want to reach to the tier 2 customers in pin code wise, COD will be still the
Correct.
king. And then you need to understand how to tackle it. That's all.
Yeah.
What is your average shipping cost? I can imagine you're shipping a card every time. It's like the price of a card.
So we have a bed in a box also, so
Bed in a
and
box.
flat pack also. So we have a range from 700 rupees up to 2,800 rupees is the shipping cost, because our average order value is anywhere between 10,000 to 21,000. So it's a heavy and bulky. You don't want, and anytime when you're shipping it, you require 2 people to put it into your
Labor,
house. Because if it's a big heavy king mattress which is 8 inches, not by any chance it will go from a service lift in Mumbai. And if it's on the
That's
15th floor or some floor, 2 people have to take it.
And that cost you pay or the customer pays?
Inbuilt.
No,
floors
that
you
we have
can
taken it on us, that first this. But if you're doing it and you know that someone is, you are giving it in a greater Noida and you try to ship it, and someone knows, no, I don't stay here and I'm not at home today, मैं आज meeting में busy हूँ, कल आऊँ करके. It's a pain actually. You can't do that. So, and if it's a sofa and something kind of a thing, it's becomes, because you have to fit it. So installation team also goes.
So how do you tackle such scenarios? If someone says they're not at home or not available or something like that?
See, generally we do a multiple calls before we set it. We ensure that are you at home? If you're not home, shall we do it? And then if it's not there, means second delivery is on you. We will not
Correct.
deliver this material. Then you have to will charge you karke. So you have to start doing all these things, and you have to tell this is a recorded message and we'll note you. If it's a serious customer, he ensures that he is there.
There's a problem for you for prepaid also, not only COD. It's a universal problem.
you can't even say ghar ke bahar
No, the prepaid guys are actually worried because it's a heavy paid. It's
Correct.
21,000, 18,000. They
They
really
make
want
sure
it to
that
be.
they're at home.
See, because if I keep it at their say security guard, who will pick up that such a heavy product and take it to the 10th floor, or say you will go and put it up. They will require 2 people to. So they that time they ensure that they are at home.
So basically you find this problem more with COD than with prepaid. People not being at home.
COD they are very innovative. Customers are very innovative. Let's put it in that way. And see, if you are earlier, I used to think if you are a new brand, there is no trust ki the product will come to my home or not. But I feel it's a myth. It's not that it's obviously there is some sense of mistrust when the brand is new. But once the brand is known, also people want to test the product first. That's why you
Correct.
look, only mattress is a category on the marketplace. You will see 100 days trial, 30 days trial, and you can return. You figure out which other product has a trial, and you can return after trial.
Good.
I think 100 days is like 3 months you do a trial and then you take back the product. That's just to cut on this COD kind of thing only. Because then people say, no, this product is not good enough for me. It's soft, it's too hard, it's medium soft. I gave a wrong size. You can't do all these.
Also, considering your repeat purchase window is very
Yeah.
far off.
Exactly.
So,
So you want to win that customer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your cost of acquisition of
Yeah.
customer keeps going high.
Yeah.
So if you want that customer, you want to keep him.
But how does COD stop the trial issue? Because ultimately, before you try the mattress, you've still paid for it, right?
No, what has happened is that they have started changing the perception towards the brand. If the brand is giving so much of trial, okay, 100 days trial, and still I can return it. That means I can be comfortable.
No, no.
People know that if I can't return, that my money is gone.
No, that part I understand. But once you've ordered a mattress on cash on delivery, you still will be skeptical about whether or not the mattress is right for you.
It reduces the person when you say 100 days trial on the website or on the marketplaces. The person who is actually going for a COD shifts to
Prepaid.
100% payment. That's the way we
so
have
it's
used
a
it.
trust factor.
It's a trust
ultimately
factor.
that
It builds the trust factor.
Yeah.
And if you write it, no questions asked, we will take it back. Then they start paying you first.
See, but also it's very funny because COD also you end up paying anyway before using or testing the product. So I feel like it's a psychological thing.
It says yes.
Because it's not like I use it for a few days and then pay the amount. It's you do pay it anyway before. So I think that's why that having that right split between COD,
Right split, yes.
who to open COD for, who not to,
Exactly.
basis like the historical data of a user. I think that plays a very important role in increasing conversions and reducing our.
So operationally, as you've rightly said, you
Yeah.
can't open the packet unless you pay the
Correct.
delivery
Because
guy,
even
right?
today, it's funny. Even I sometimes place, like if I'm doing an impulse purchase, I use COD. But then I'm like, I have to anyway pay
Yeah.
for the product.
You can't say take it back.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, you place return, somebody else will
So
come.
now I've stopped COD because it's a hassle also, because sometimes I'm not at home and then they call and QR
Absolutely.
code and all of that. So I think we have to play a little bit more on changing
The
the
geographies
psyche
and
of the user.
Yeah, so I think next, Manraj, you have a very interesting category, and
Yeah.
we'll figure out how do you manage.
Probably the odd man out. We do not provide
Yeah,
COD.
correct. Yeah.
Even though we want to, but technically we cannot.
Yeah.
The way we've overcome this is because we provide partial payments. Initially, we used to do this manually, and then we got automation in place. I feel people go for COD mainly for two reasons, right? Either it's the trust, which we spoke of, or secondly must be a lot of impulsive purchases. I think broadly customers fall under these two buckets, right? So for us, providing partial payments, it's definitely helped us. Secondly, we're very heavily dependent on lead management system. You go for COD wherein there's a lot of doubt,
Intent.
product doubt, policies, brand trust, all of that, right? This is wherein we overcome these points through talking to the customers, sharing those data points. In our case, it's generally the lifetime buyback. It's the metal breakdown, right? So our average order value is about 3 lakhs. So if you're spending that money through a prepaid transaction, you would want to know how much is the gold weight, what is the polki weight, a lot of different product breakdowns. So that's how we manage this. But in my previous roles, COD used to be around 55%. A combination of automation, like what you guys are doing, along with a manual intervention, is what we used to focus on. I think someone mentioned that calling these customers in the next 15-20 minutes works wonders. Yeah.
And you mentioned partial payments, right?
Yeah.
What is the split like there?
So on the website, we've kept it 50% throughout,
Okay.
right?
So 50%
Prepaid.
upfront
Of,
and
correct. And
but prepaid only.
prepaid only.
Okay.
Once you're and we give the customers, once the product is ready, we share out videos, we do video calling, we We share out images, what was needed to gain that trust. If they want someone to wear the piece before we ship out, we do that as well. So we try to overcome trust in that case. Karan's name definitely helps, but I think the Indian consumers have a lot of doubts, especially when you buy fine jewelry.
Correct.
What business is online for jewelry? Very curious. 3 lakhs is extremely high for online business, right? What percentage is offline?
It contributes 25% of our business. Though we're not dependent on India as a market, the West is far mature. We have a very big pool of NRIs in US, Canada, Europe. So that's how we try to balance India versus global business.
No COD in the West.
Risk-free.
So I had a question. So are these all orders are on order, as in these are
It's a
customized,
combination.
or how is that?
It's a combination of pieces that we have across all our store, which is ready to ship styles, and a combination of MTO.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the price points are similar offline, online.
It's the same styles. Offline we could go much higher depending on the store. The Bandra turnover store would
So if I
probably have
look at a
much higher
piece
AOV.
offline and if I want to purchase it online,
You can do that at the same
it'll
value.
be cheaper for me. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's the same value.
Okay.
I'm talking the average order value may differ
Oh,
from
okay, that
store
way.
to store because
No,
of
I was trying to
the
understand
cohort.
if the price point.
It's the same. It's the same. We try to maintain that transparency.
Got it.
And do you find any scenarios wherein these customers who have opted for partial payments, they are not accepting the order at delivery, or there are any cases of RTO?
They are the ones who will first accept. It's the cash.
I just
So
wondered.
that's not a problem for us. Though we may find a problem wherein someone is not comfortable with the gemstone color, but that's easily manageable. Very operational issue, which
You
is
kind of exchange or do something like that.
we don't do that because if you're making a piece for you, we don't want to take it back.
Okay.
We do sort of minor customization, which would be, as per your outfit, you would want to change the color of a few gemstones, all of that, right? So we tend to not do that.
Okay.
One more thing, in the ready-to-ship products, which are like ready, how does the split of prepayment versus 100%?
Doesn't matter.
So there also you provide partial payments?
Yes.
How does that work?
So we take the partial payment first, and then as soon as the pieces are ready in a couple of days, we ask for the pending
So
payment.
what is that tag?
Typically between 3 to 4 working days. Yeah.
So in the 3 to 4 days
We
also
try to
people
cover
are,
that. Yeah.
It's interesting.
So the reason we've given this is purely for the trust.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think moving on, Raghav, word from you. I know you've been in business for long. So how you've seen COD evolve and what are the challenges you face right now?
Okay, so we sell very expensive headphones directly on our website. That's about it. Been doing it for 11 years now. I think in number of transactions, COD is about 40%. In value terms, it's probably less than about 10%. RTO rate is probably about 4%. But yeah, obviously it was a little different earlier. And I think now about 95% of our product catalog is just exclusive to our website. You won't find it anywhere else. So, sometimes we become a little arrogant in saying that, pay for it, otherwise get lost. But obviously acquiring new customers becomes a lot easier when you have cheaper products and you have cash on delivery on cheaper products. That happens quite a bit. But earlier, I would say, we had a lot of products which people could have bought on Amazon or Flipkart or Snapdeal or whatever. And it's not uncommon for it to become a delivery race for who gets there first, gets the payment. So very common that customers would open Flipkart, open Amazon, open our website and place the order for the exact same thing. And whoever delivers the headphone first gets the cash. So for a long time, our model for reducing RTOs was simply deliver quickly. And that that continued for a long time. But at this point of time, I think those days are now over. And to answer the question about is it still pivotal, I think as an industry, all of D2C is still very much at the tip of the iceberg. We still have, I don't know how many millions of customers still left to bring into the e-commerce ecosystem. So if we're all saying that, guys, we don't want any more customers, then we'll stop using COD. But if we all want more customers, then we continue using COD, right?
So I think you had mentioned that delivery, like EDD, right? If the delivery is faster, then RTO sort of automatically reduces. So that means you're saying at the time of purchase or at the time of order placing, intent is high. So you're saying there's no instance where you found that there are low intent folks.
Yeah, so my product is not a low intent category, right? If a guy's buying an expensive headphone, he's probably done his research as to why he wants it, right? And even it doesn't even mean that the product is expensive. Even if
AOV is around?
our AOV would be anything between 6,500 to 7,000 rupees. But let's assume somebody wants to buy a Ching Chong Chu brand of earphone for 2,000 rupees. The chances are if he's buying it from us, there's a very high intent. Otherwise, you just buy a boat or a noise or whatever.
So like a AOV AOV is also a factor in determining the intent of the
Sometimes, yes. It's not. Think of it like this: somebody's buying a 2,000 rupee movie ticket. The intent is high.
But yeah, these can be cancelled. Movie tickets can't.
Of course. So I think brands evolve with time, and in our case, we've evolved certainly to answer this question, where we're not trying to be the biggest seller of headphones on the internet. We're simply trying to be the best. And if we want to be the best, we can't be Louis Vuitton and DMart at the same time. So we're just choosing to say that if you guys want to, place low quality orders, low value orders on COD, there's a shop for that. And for the rest of y'all, please come to us.
You mentioned that for a long time your strategy was to ship faster.
Yeah.
What changed from then to now?
I think it's just the catalog. As long as you're competing with 10 other places for that customer's order and you're selling a product that's available everywhere, that'll keep happening. And the more we became confident in ourselves as a brand, 95% of our catalog are products which are just exclusive to us. So, you either wait or you don't.
Okay. Also, have you also observed that maybe, not sending timely communication and nudges? For example, if I've placed an order today and I don't hear from the brand in the next 2 days, so I'll be apprehensive, right? I'll be restless and I'll be probably, that maybe it's fraud or maybe they're not going to ship it. So my first nudge, action will be to go and, maybe cancel the order. So do you also like that?
Yeah, absolutely. All of that is great, but nothing works as well as just shipping the damn order quickly.
There's patience. People are not patient. Yeah.
So I think last time I checked, 94% of our orders get delivered within 24 hours.
And how have you solved that piece? Yeah.
Just we ship quickly. We ship 3 times a day. And we use Blue Dart for everything. So yeah.
What Raghav said, I agree with him.
24 hours.
Yeah. Anywhere with an airport and anywhere which is close to the airport gets delivered.
How many DCs you have across the country?
Just one, right outside Chennai airport. We're able to ship within a few hours. Blue Dart delivers it within 24 hours.
No, I agree with Raghav. If you do not ship it in time, your CRM calls will sign. Definitely, if you are dealing with
A lot of incoming calls.
Yeah.
But there is a different aspect to COD also. The one question is why it's higher on the marketplace, why it's low on the website. Whenever you have throughout 365 days credit card offers for a high order value product, the COD reduces. And we have seen this in prime days also our COD reduces. BBD, GIFR reduces. If marketplace supports it with credit card offers or debit card offers, and if the product is 20,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees, and he knows that he's going to save 1,500 rupees, already it's a 5% discount, then the COD actually comes down. So website, that's why we have a less COD, apart from being the same SLAs as marketplace, but 365 days we keep a credit card offer.
Right.
That price he will not get if he goes for a COD, and for a higher order
Correct.
value it's a deterrent.
Correct. So if I know that I want a particular product from your brand, and if I'm getting a discount, I would go for it.
So
Because anyway, I'll have to.
someone knows that if I'm paying a 20,000 rupees for a product on COD, and if I use a credit card, I know I'll be paying 17,000 or 18,000.
Yeah.
I'm saving 2,000, 3,000 bucks, in which
Plus
he can
you-
buy any good
Correct.
headphone also. He will not pay 2,000.
Plus, you indirectly tackle the RTO problem as well.
See, what I've seen is on very high OV, definitely credit card offer works. But if you look at today's D2C, and I'm just talking generally by my personal experience working with a lot of brands, almost every second brand today has like a 5% or $100 off
Correct.
on prepaid,
Correct.
right? Some use it intelligently, some give it mass to everyone,
Yeah.
right? But still, even with these offers running, at an average, we are running at 50-60% COD, right? So how I look at it, that there can be, obviously these are small solves that you keep using, but I think I still feel the larger problem is obviously trust, intent, but I think the biggest problem is that we are a very heavy cash economy, right? I think that continues to remain in my mind the number one point, right? And then obviously if you, the trust is the second factor, intent is the third factor, right? All these factors build up to it, but I think the cash economy factor is the biggest, and hence it always keeps us key, whether you want to do it, you don't want to do it, but I think we can't live without it. How do we solve for peripherals? We're probably discussing right now. Yeah, over to you, Samin. Would love to hear your experience.
So, I'll take a slightly different take on this. How many e-com brands here get business because of performance marketing? Everybody. That means if performance marketing switches off, revenue is zero. So what we did is, same for us, we spend 85% of our budgets, orders come because of performance marketing. If you stop performance marketing, 2 days our ROAS is 25 because people have already seen what they come. But what we did is we said, for us our AOV is about 5,000 and our shipping cost is on an average of 350 or so. From that point of view, the cost for return is not hurting us too much, because if somebody is selling for 1,500, you have to pay 300, then it's a lot of money you lose, right? From that point of view, it's still okay to say, if we get an RTO, it is still okay. It is not hurting my P&L so much. But we said we'll switch off COD because it is a lifestyle product and we don't want. And the problem was not COD, the problem was fraud with COD. Products go. I send a sari, I get half a sari back. I send a sari, I get only the blouse back. I send a sari, I get a chappal back. I send a sari and I get all kinds of shit back. It has been that has been a problem, and specifically when you're not working in Blue Dot. I will not name the other that happened, and we said we'll switch off. But one insight we got after that is we cannot do performance marketing and say we can't do COD, because Facebook learns from audiences, and the entire Indian audience is doing COD. And if you switch off COD, then Facebook algorithm goes bonkers.
I think COD is an acquisition channel. It's a way to acquire.
It's a way to acquire, and Facebook understands that this customer will convert. And if you switch off COD, Facebook will still think he'll convert. He'll spend money on it, and your ROAS will just tank.
Conversion.
Conversion drops, ROAS tanks, and we started seeing that as an impact. And we said, we can't switch off COD. So we got back COD, and we did multiple things. I think one of the things which we thought smart thing to do is call the customer and ask if you want the product. And we did that for a while, but we didn't see so much of a benefit. We saw a lot of cancellations happening because of that. Because now we are prompting the customer. Customer has come and placed an order with whatever luck of acquisition and all that, and you are going and hitting your hammer on your own leg and saying, "Bhai, आपने खरीदा चाहिए नहीं चाहिए? You want it or not?" For our product, because it's
so they know अभी ship ही नहीं किया है, छोड़ो नहीं.
Yeah. So the cancellations were going up. We said, we will not call the customer. We will not call all customers. Then we said we'll do WhatsApp. Then we saw a similar issue with WhatsApp. We're using a tool on Shiprocket which was sending automatic messages, then doing an IVR call and doing all of that. Nothing helped us. Then I thought, what we then realized is we can't change how the COD ecosystem will work. We have to convert our orders to prepaid as much as we can. And that is what helped us. So we did a small switch. We used to give a 5% discount when you buy. on prepaid, and we used to do it a little smartly, like you said. We used to not open it to everybody. If somebody is gone, placed a COD order, only then we open it up. Otherwise, we don't save by default.
Correct.
Yeah.
But our COD was at 55, prepaid was 45, and it never changed. And we kept saying we are giving the incentive, it's the same. Then in one of the conferences, I spoke to another co-founder, and I said, we've been doing this. He said, I have an idea for you. Increase the discount from 5 to 10%, and see what happens. We did that. It switched to 45% COD, 55% prepaid, and it stayed there.
Correct.
So I think the trick was to just keep your prepaid as high as possible. Don't try and have lesser COD. Then don't call the customer. Then you're telling the customer, please don't buy. If you call the customer, tell the customer that they're saying. At least for him, it's a problem. 15 floors with a bed and then throwing from there. I think for you, you should definitely call it. But for us, because we lose $300 on a reverse shipment, it doesn't hurt our P&L so much. We say, it's okay.
Yeah.
We can do that. So I think COD is something you cannot get away with. You have to do it. And you just have to manage it better. And work with Blue Dot.
This is turning out to be an ad for Blue Dot.
Yeah, we have strong advocates for Blue Dot now.
Our frauds have reduced significantly when we work with them.
Actually, we have heard that from a lot of brands that using Blue Dot premium service actually helps them reduce
The cost
RT
of
also.
shipment goes up by 45%.
Correct.
And I make up with the fraud. The
Correct.
fraud not happening covers it for.
But I'm surprised to hear that you get half a sari still back. I mean, this kind of stuff, because I remember when I was talking about, initial days of e-commerce, and we used to sell crazy digital cameras at that time. Our 80% business was digital cameras, and the phones were just starting. And we used to get soaps in the boxes of digital, because the size is same, right?
Size and weight is.
So you used to get soap bars, return. And I was like, wow.
I think fraud has gone to another level for our marketplaces now. So we sell our saris which are $5,000, and these guys are very innovative, very jugadu, because they know a lot of these returns are automated. Cameras see them, and they accept a fraud return or not, right? So people have started making saris of Koskii design, exactly the same design, which are probably $500-600 worth, and they're shipping the same color. They're shipping it back. And if you don't see it as a human, then the camera will mistake it to be the same. And we used to get one design 40-50 returns from the same design, same product, but a lot cheaper.
What was your pitch when you used to call them? Was it confirming the address, or?
Yeah, I think we used to start with, we have this address, can you please tell us if this address is
I
fine?
was just coming
But
to
that's a
that.
very typical way. That's why it doesn't work. I'll give you an example. I bought a shirt from a brand, and instead of reconfirming my address, they were like, "What is the typical brand that you wear? What is the size that you generally prefer?" And that's technically gauging if the customer is genuine enough, right? And thereby even reducing your returns. So maybe that may help.
It's a interesting.
Also, I think another interesting insight, or like a lot of insights that we gather, because on our network we have data of 100 million plus shoppers, right, across 1,500 brands. So, for example, if somebody, like you said, jewelry, right, if there's a user who has made a purchase on your website for the first time, we can, again, we have ways to identify whether that user is legit or not. We also have his historic data of, whether how frequently he makes purchases in the jewelry category, how frequency. That gives you a, like a legit snapshot of whether that user is a high, medium, or low risk user. So accordingly, you show these necessary COD prepaid interventions to him and weed out the low intent guys. I think that's one route that we take to largely
I think
reduce
I had a
RTO.
question for you guys.
Sure.
GoKwik guys. How close you are to developing a Truecaller app for these kind of stuff?
Truecaller app. So, okay, let me just give you a little bit, very broad idea of what GoKwik, what we're doing, right? And especially looking at solving for COD, right? See, the main larger play that we have is we're risk profiling the customer. If I want to put it in a very simple, look at it as a Sybil for online shopping, right? We're trying to understand how the customer shops online, who's a good a good customer, who's a bad customer, who's a very bad customer, right? We are able to risk profile the customers, and I'll let Samir talk about it in 5 minutes about how do we risk profile it and what are the parameters, etc., that we study about it. But understanding the risk profiling, a lot of points that we discussed today, right? So, for example, you had a use case of personalizing, right? For example, we solved this for Lenskart today, right? Lenskart, if you've made a glasses, if you made it, it's gone, right? If you can't be. But Lenskart today uses our intelligence to ship even their glasses and for the cuff on COD for certain cars. Personalized ones. Personalized glasses, Lenskart uses their intelligence and sends it out on COD today also, right? Because there are certain bad customers, but the whole ecosystem is not bad, right? There are people who use COD as a regular payment system, and if we know those users, then why not, right? It just helps increase CR for everyone, right? Similar case where we were talking about prepaid discounting, right? A lot of us are doing 5%, 10%, etc. Can we do it only for risky customers? Why give it to everyone? There are people who will be willing to pay you 100%. Why give them at 90%, right? Improve our margins there. So a lot of these use cases is what we solve for today. You can solve for margins, you can solve for reducing the cost in terms of controlling RTO, etc. But I'll let Samir heads our product for RTO. He's a science guy. He's had a good experience with Amazon for a good number of years. So I'll let Samir talk about how do we risk profile the customers, and then if you have any questions, happy to take that up.
So basically, so what we've identified is that RTO happens not only at a customer level, but also like as you guys were also saying at pin code level, right? For example, some addresses are good, some are not good, some pin codes are good, some are not good. So we basically try to incorporate all of those parameters depending on what the brand is, what the product the customers is purchasing, what has been the historical RTO for that particular product, for that particular brand, what has been the RTO of the customer historically across other brands also, for that particular pin code. Is the address quality good enough or not to be deliverable there? What has been the price point is, and what typically happens from an RTO perspective at that price point and all of that. So those are all the different kind of parameters that we look at, along with where is the customer coming from, which device is he using, what IP is he using, uh, what is the browser that he's using, because all of those also play a role. For example, users coming in from iPhone would have much less RTO than the ones using, let's say, Android or even BlackBerry, right? Other things could be, for example, some users coming in from, let's say, Facebook or Instagram sources would be having much higher RTO because they are getting acquired inorganically. And in those cases, because they are also impulse purchases, because they're browsing through Facebook and Instagram, and they are stumbling upon these brands or these products, they would want to make a purchase on COD. And it's also very, very easy to make a purchase on COD. It's really frictionless, right? So incorporating all of those different factors, their browsing behavior and all of that, we basically determine what is the probability of RTO happening for a particular order. This is something that we try to understand before an order gets placed, even during their checkout. And that is how we understand, hey, is this particular orders or customers probability of having RTO, is that 20%, is that 40%, is that 70%? Accordingly, we try to qualify it as high risk order, a medium risk order, or a low risk order. And then depending on that, we then recommend what needs to happen at each risk level. For example, at a high risk level, we would recommend to not show COD as an option, but instead we don't want to lose that purchase, because there will be some customers who would be genuine, and even though our rules and our ML model would tell us that, hey, it is a high risk order or a high risk customer, we would still want them to place an order no matter what, right? So in such cases, we will try to convert them into prepaid. So a combination of what all of you are saying, pin code blocking, conversion from COD to prepaid, not showing COD above a certain AOV and all of that, right? So all of those are basically considered into our ML model, and based on that, the different features or interventions, as we call it, these are the actions that we would want brands to take, and these are something that lead us to RTO reducing, COD share reducing. So they vary from blocking COD, showing a friction on COD, such as showing a CAPTCHA prompt or an OTP, showing variable or dynamic fees and dynamic discounts also, what you also mentioned, changing it from 5% to 10%. We actually do that dynamically on every risk level. And we know that, for example, at low risk, at a low risk order, we don't need to show that much of an discount, because we know that a lot of those orders will get converted into prepaid. We just need to show them a little nudge, right? So a combination of fees and discounts also at every risk level, at a dynamic level, works. The kind of messaging or communication that also needs to go out once the order is placed. For example, what you were talking about, address confirmation. We have also found out that that doesn't work, right? Instead, what he mentioned was that we have to reinforce the order in a different kind of a way, in a more proxy way, and try to engage the customer even after the order is placed at different points in time. For example, during immediately after order placement, immediately after the order is dispatched from the warehouse, in transit, when it is out for delivery, and when the order needs to get rescheduled. Maybe for some categories it might not work, because we would want the order to be attempted in the first delivery itself. But for a lot of other brands, that is something that makes more sense. And that is where we've identified that for different customers, for different geographies, for example, in tier 1 metro, tier 2, tier 3, different kind of messaging post order works, the kind of WhatsApp messages that need to go out. Some customers would want to support ecological or economical things, for the particular brand, the sustainability of the brand. Others would care more about how the product is that a 5-star product, what have been the reviews of the product, what are the influencers talking about it. So we have integrations across for a lot of our brands, for all their kinds of different products, and that is something that basically move during the post-order journey to tell the customers why it matters to them, why that particular product matters to them, and why they should be accepting that product. So a lot of these basically come together. It's RTO doesn't really have a single silver bullet to solve for. It needs a variety of this different behavioral nudges to solve for it, and that is what we have identified works to reduce RTO and to reduce the COD
Also,
share.
it's data like gathered over time, right? And it's constantly evolving, and we're constantly getting more and more accurate as we speak.
Yeah,
Right?
the more and more data that we gather, the better and better our model
Also, I
will
just
be.
wanted to quickly chime in. I think a
Sunday, I
few.
have a one question.
Sure.
Sure.
So, if you have such a huge database, if any customer comes and your database says that this is a fraudulent customer, maybe your global ID, mobile number, email ID, whatever. So your dashboard or whatever is the system triggers that okay, this customer is a high risk customer and do not ship it to him.
Yes, that is right. Correct. Yeah.
Even
We would
before
flag
shipping,
it.
right? So we will just straight away block COD for that customer.
Correct. We will not show
We will
COD
not
as a
show
payment
COD.
option
Prepaid,
during their
nobody has
checkout
any
itself.
problem with anything, right?
Yeah.
So we don't show COD to that.
We won't show
don't show
COD.
to the customer.
Yeah.
So if I'm that user, may not be good user.
But that's
Same brand, I won't get the option for COD.
yeah. Yeah. But that's the hardest intervention. We limit them to only very, very high risk customers. Otherwise, friction on COD is something that needs to be there. It needs to be there. It cannot be a seamless.
So about 100 million plus customers are there with us today, right? Across 1400 odd brands, mostly D2C. Some old of legacy brands also work with us. So these are all the customers. I think online customer base, e-commerce will be about 200, 250 odd million. Is our what estimate is about somewhere between 200 250 million. So we are about 30-40% there. As we grow, we continue there. Our goal is to be able to obviously balance COD. I would say it's not about removing or eradicating it. It's just balance it, ensure that it becomes a profitable instrument for the merchants that we work with, versus being a challenge or a negative source of it's a, I would say, necessary devil, right? So how do we can make it a little more profitable is what we work for.
So I think, these are a few of the interventions that we have enabled, which are live on our brands, right? And this is just to make it a little bit more visual. I'm sure you guys have heard of and used these interventions, right? We have the confirmation prompt, then we have the captcha, which is just to ensure that there's no robots or bots that are operating your system. And then I think, like all of us spoke about, there are these prepaid discounts, and even that like specifically we have like more discounts on UPI versus say cards. I mean, it depends upon what a brand strategy is for that quarter, for that duration, right? Where they want to nudge their users to. Then there's COD blocking, which is like an extreme step that we take, right, for extremely bad users. I think this is a partial COD is a cool feature that our product team had come up with specifically for brands like yours, right, which are custom or personalized merchandise. So what that happens is, for say like an AOV order of say $800, right? We take about $80 at the time of order placement, and the rest can be paid via COD. So what happens is, if I'm very used to just placing COD orders, and if I want that gradual nudge, right, to move into prepaid, this is a good bridge. This feature is a good bridge to do that subtle conversion of folks from COD to prepaid.
But do you have data in terms of, is this really working? Because
It is, yeah.
the product that we operate in, the average order value is $800. There are people, and these are impulse purchase, right? Somebody's buying 6-7 products while browsing Instagram and stuff. And I don't know if there's a resistance in terms of wanting to pay 80% and 20% later on. Like, does that mindset work? Because I thought probably
The
they'll
inverse,
either
the
opt for
inverse.
COD or they are okay to pay online, because the amount is not that much.
Yeah, so for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
you're right. So if you're saying that the average order value is 800, then
Yeah.
passing COD is not really a great
Yeah.
solver for that.
Yeah.
But for people
larger
who
AOV,
go about
yeah.
3,000,
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
2,000,
Yeah.
5,000, etc.,
Yeah.
for them it's
Yeah.
great, because at least
Correct.
you've got something and you have that as a leverage for the client to actually accept it. And we've seen across most, I think about 70-80 of our brands use it today. Once a partial payment is done, there is 99% plus success.
Yeah.
Partial payment is done, it's a
99% plus success.
But what is the threshold right now for the higher ATV, products like consumer durable or say high ASP headphones? Is there a threshold, or it's should not be across all the ATV, right? The
Threshold,
COD.
I would say if you're above 2,500,
Correct.
then you can start
It
using
doesn't. Yeah.
Below 2,500, just regular COD and prepaid works, right?
Yeah.
So because below that it's not ready. Then using BNPL options, etc., probably works out better for you.
Yeah.
So in our case, you'll find that orders which are less than 2,000 rupees are almost always COD. The minute is 2001, there's a very high drop-off rate. Then a lot of people move into prepaid. We don't do any COD on any products which are above 15,000 rupees. And then you find once you crossed 1 lakh rupees, at least in headphones, there's a very large number of people who are paying cash. It's just not on delivery.
That's a different user
Yeah,
base.
that's not on delivery, but there's a very large number of people paying cash.
But you've kept COD across all the transaction value.
So we have COD available up to 15,000 rupees, but on most of those products, we pretty much say no questions asked returns. Don't like it, just send it back. No questions asked. The minute we start adding resistance to that and saying that on this product returns are not as easy, then it's almost always prepaid.
So I think one particular problem that we solved there is we have these brands who do custom stuff, right? And they say that,
Yeah.
we don't want to move away from COD, but how do we? So I think that mid leeway is what we help them with.
I had one more question from you guys. So, versus the marketplaces and the brand websites like the D2C website, what is the RTO percentage, average percentage? Do you see any difference there?
If I see, the size is very big. Marketplaces, I think I'll let Sameer answer. He's from Amazon, so he can answer that. But across D2C, again, category-wise there is. But if I very generalize it, about 20-25% is the range of RTO across brands. And there are people who are at extremely 50-60 higher and above,
Digital
and
jewelry,
there are people sitting at 3-4%. So we have all sorts of, but 20-25% average, and category makes a difference. For example, fashion is high on RTO,
Yeah,
right?
high
Fashion is
on
high RTO. BPC is average on RTO, like beauty and personal care is average. Like electronics, especially that 2000 range is high on RTO again. So again, category wise, it varies a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, on marketplaces, basically, for example, in Amazon, I know their RTO was pre 15%, 15% and less, but that again varies from category to category. Similar insights apply there also. For example, in apparel, the RTO was quite high, but for other categories, the RTO was quite low.
And this would be including fresh. So where there will be
Fresh
practically no
wasn't,
RTO.
yeah, Fresh did not, when I was there, Fresh did not offer COD at that time.
Ah.
So they also have very strict COD policies in place. For example, any order above, let's say 5,000 or 10,000, they don't offer COD,
Yeah.
right? Below 500 at that time also, they did not used to offer COD to certain set of customers. And COD was selectively on and off for new customers and repeat customers. And then they had an ML algorithm, more of a transaction risk algorithm in place that used to determine whether or not COD needs to be offered to the customer.
Sure, yeah. Nice, yeah.
Amazon gives two kinds of data. One is RTO, one is RTV. So
Yeah.
RTO is before it reaches to the customer, it's actually cancellation.
Correct.
So that's generally single digit percentage. When customer it reaches and then he returns from RTV, I think that percentage generally I've seen it into the double digits every week.
Yes, correct. So Amazon basically segregates RTO into two. One is undeliverable, which is what you are talking about, right? The cancellations thing. Actually, Amazon considers cancellation as pre-shipment. Anything is getting cancelled, pre-shipment is cancelled. Anything post-shipment till the time it reaches the customer, actually doesn't reach the customer, is undeliverable. It's not getting delivered. Anything that the customer is rejecting or not accepting is rejected, right? So those are the three categories that they have, and fourth one is of course returns after the customer has accepted the delivery. Yeah. So for cancellations, it's pretty low. Cancellations are pretty low, pre 5%. Undeliverables are in single digits, and rejects are pretty high.
Yeah, they must be very
Yeah,
The
yeah.
assortment is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are again a lot of new brands that keep getting added on Amazon also, right? Month over month, etc. So that also plays a role. The product and the seller that it is selling. So they have a lot of other variables that they consider. For example, the brand, the seller, the rating, the reviews, etc. Right? A lot of which are not present on a lot of brands, a lot of D2C brands, for example, right? But marketplaces have that data readily available at their end. So they take into account that also to determine what to do there in terms of COD offering.
What percentage of RTO reduction are you able to get because of this tool?
About 40%.
Yeah, for
About 40% or so.
40% RTO reduction. So if
Yes.
RTO was 10%, it can become 6%.
Correct. That's right. Yeah. And even COD share we've seen dropping from let's say 70% to 30% for some of the brands.
And some
Wherever.
of these brands who came to us, I think initially the split between COD and prepaid was 70-30, and we helped flip it around for them.
Yeah.
So has there been any dip in the revenue because of this?
No, not really. Not really.
So when we try to solve for RTO, one of the challenges is because moment you start blocking or creating friction, right, it leads to drop in orders. So the whole playbook is set in such a way that we keep your net conversion rate up, right, and that's what eventually matters in the end, right? It's not the number of orders placed, but the number of orders delivered,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So we try to focus on the number of orders delivered. So we try to focus on getting the number of delivered orders rate higher. The number of orders placed might get reduced because if we remove COD or do some sort of friction, that will go down. But delivery is something that we work on.
Also,
Yeah.
there's a strategic, roadmap, like a 6-month-long journey that we sort of guide brands through, right? It's not just placing, like enabling these interventions as in how you feel.
Yeah.
There's a way to this. Like, we first, consult them and we say that, you should have COD blocking, say to first weed out the high risk folks, and then have these mid interventions to sort of keep RTO in check, and then gradually nudge the COD folks to prepaid through, say, prepaid discounts, partial COD, and all of that. Ultimately, I think what we have observed for some of these brands is at the end of it, we do like 30 to 40, upwards of 40% RTO reduction and 15 to 25% uplift in prepaid.
Yeah.
So
All the
this-
while their CR kind of
Yeah.
stabilizes also over that
At an
period of time.
optimum CR.
Initially it dips, but then it stabilizes because your funnel has just adjusted. Yeah.
And also
It's
that-
all about managing the funnel actually. All of this also ties back into your marketing funnel, the kind of customers that Facebook and Instagram, basically Meta is acquiring for you. So it gets adjusted accordingly, but it's a little bit of a longer journey. And we've identified that these features need to be able to work in a sequence. Only when they're applied in a sequence they work.
Yeah.
If that's not there, then the impact doesn't really come
Actually,
in.
this also ends up leading to better CAC for all of you because eventually Meta learns from the same algorithm,
Yes.
right? So if an RTO user is regularly placing orders, right, you're wasting the money coming in, going out, and then for them it's delivered, right? For them it's order placed is placed, so they don't know what happens post. So eventually all these optimizers leads to a CAC reduction also from that.
Also, we have a super intuitive, dashboard which helps you track, on a weekly or monthly basis. Like last week, what was the COD dip or prepaid uplift? What was the RTO like last week? So, Samit, you can maybe walk them through the.
I can pull that up, but we can continue in the meanwhile.
Yeah, I think.
Sure. Would I think love to hear some closing comments from all of you. We can start with Chandan.
No, I've been waiting for the true color from you guys. So let's
The winning true color.
no, it's a RTO is a big thing in national.
Yeah.
COD is obviously not.
Yeah.
So, Chandan, we have a Truecaller running. It runs on the back end. Definitely, we'll connect with you and understand, how can we solve for it. I understand your RTO problems. RTO percentage was fairly high, right? So, definitely look forward to it. Yeah, Binal, any closing comments from you?
No, I mean, it was super insightful. It was amazing to learn from different brands with different AOVs as to what their journey has been. And I think that we can collectively understand that COD is here to stay. It's, as he said, we want to increase our user base and we want more and more people to be our potential customer base. COD is something which has to say. It's how we optimize it with tools like yours or just by, reassessing our entire supply chain. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sure. So I think, as Binal has said, it's been very, insightful discussion, a lot of learning. And as far as COD is concerned, it's going to stay. It's India at the end of the day, and we have majority of Bharat. So, when you, and all growth is going to come from, smaller towns and, up countries. So you can't avoid being, available in COD. But yeah, if we have this kind of intervention where we can, kind of reduce the percentage of COD and optimize the deliveries, I would say,
Yes.
it's always better to give the customer choice, because in today's time, every day so many brands are coming and I don't know whom to trust. So a lot of time, if you see any brand, you would want to go and order on Amazon or Myntra, you would search. If you don't find, then only you go and place order, because credibility becomes a big issue. So that leeway we must give to the consumer, but at the same time, let's try and evaluate through the supply chain and all other avenues, that if the RTOs are in control, I think it's a good option to have.
Sure.
Yep.
I think major of the points has been articulated by all of them, but I think it was great to understand across different categories like lifestyle,
Correct.
headphones,
Problems are different.
different brand and all. But I think I would like to have it from you, the commercial benefit, how it from some case studies in terms of what commercial benefit it has yielded over a period of a month or 6 months.
Yeah, we can
Sure.
share
Since
those.
it has been done, because I think you might have a lot of data in your dashboard, but
Yeah.
across categories, because everyone deals in a different
Yeah,
category.
yeah,
Someone is in
absolutely.
impulse, someone is in a almost analyzed and studied and
Yeah.
buying kind of category. We're still not sure. If you can share such kind of a data, I think we will understand how to use the tool in a more effective way for the.
Correct,
Sure.
absolutely, because this is not a one size
One
fits
size,
all
yeah.
solution. It's not.
I think
it's not a one template for everyone.
No.
So
I think it wasn't planned, but today we ended up having a panel which from, let's say, 800 AOV to few lakhs AOV. So we have almost everybody.
super diverse.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
diverse panel. So yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
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 So yeah.
Manraj, let's have some closing comments from you.
This has been great. If COD is here to stay, I think it's the obvious. It depends on the brands where they are at. If you're a well-funded brand looking for growth, you cannot avoid it. If you're a bootstrap, profitable brand, you can. I've seen that as well. I've seen brands taking a step back, discontinuing COD for a better sleep, slightly lesser PNL, but that doesn't matter. So it depends brand to brand.
Correct.
But if you need to grow at tier 2, tier 3, I don't think so you can miss out on COD.
Sure. Thanks. Raghav.
I don't like COD.
He's the other one you said, right? No, the guy who sleeps well. He's the guy who sleeps well.
I never have cash in my wallet, so I don't understand the point of COD anyway. But I'll leave you guys with the thought. Okay, everyone's scared of losing out on business because of COD. Today in this country, you can't buy a train ticket, let alone a plane ticket, without a digital payment. How are you going to pay cash on delivery for any of that? And people have just moved on. They're just fine with it. And you have to ask yourself 10 times that if somebody who has the means of making a digital payment isn't making that payment and is choosing COD still, then what's the reason for it?
COD is also like digital payment on delivery.
Well, I mean, albeit that's true. So even if you think of it from that point of view, there are so many industries. Something as simple as a train ticket, you can't do it on cash. Anyway, but this was really smart, GoKwik. No better way of getting a captive audience of decision makers to demo a product. So well done. Thank
We
you.
promise we won't spam.
Thanks, Raghav.
I think there was a disclaimer before I already told him that. But I think one insight, very insightful session. I think having a diverse mix of product categories, delivery styles, climbing 15 floors. I can't imagine how that will
That
work.
was very interesting.
Yeah, that was very
I will
interesting.
think a lot now if I have to place an order for a match.
Yeah, but I think like we've discussed that if you're in a metro, if you're working, you will try and place a prepaid order so you don't get hassle when you're at work. I think from what we've seen in our data, we've seen most of these CODs orders come from tier 2 cities, come from people not working, people who are in businesses, and maybe homemakers who are sitting at home and trying to get some stress out of their system. They place 5-6 orders and sometimes they place an order. But I think tier 2, tier 3, if you really want the business, you have to actively work on how do you capture that customer.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. I have a really small request. If you could just fill this form out, just take like 5 minutes max, tops. It'll help us. Yeah, here.